Hello and welcome to the No Holds Barred Witchcraft podcast, and this episode has nothing to do with money magic, despite being called Inherited Wealth. This, I warn you now, is going to be an elitist episode, because I think some people miss us being extremely elitist and, shitting on other people's magical practices, Chris. And I think that the worst way of doing that is by talking about this concept of inherited wealth within occultism. Wealth being knowledge, experience, and power.
Okay.
So, inherited wealth. Can you discuss or explain the basic concept?
Okay. I suppose the best way of putting it, and the politest way before we start being rude, is to basically say some of us are born with certain access. And by that I mean people that come into this lifetime, or this current lifetime, with access to their previous ones, and therefore have access to their greater knowledge banks. And often with knowledge comes power, and therefore also come with inherited power also. So that's the kind of inherited we're talking about.
From themselves.
From themselves.
They inherit it from themselves, technically.
So this is where they ruin that phrase that I used to like, but the New Agers went and fucked it over, which is the, greater self. Which is the best way of describing what we're talking about here, is being able to pull information, skills, power from the sum of your parts rather than just this current part.
The higher self.
Yeah. Also,
being linked to your higher self from day one, from birth.
So,
and not having to go through this process of attempting throughout multiple lifetimes to get there. Like the whole Philema thing is attempting, and like all of these various rituals where you connect to your holy guardian angel and all that, and then have all these eerie cool powers. Yeah, some people just born with that.
Yeah.
Would you like to put a na on the end of that, Chris?
No, I would never be so childish. That's definitely something you'd do. But feel free to do one for both of us.
Well, I was getting at it. Would you say or admit that you are in this group of, inherited snobs that never had to work a day in their life because they've got all this money? Oh no, wait a minute, we're not talking about money. These people that just, they don't even bother waving their hand because that's too much effort with regards to magic. They just think about what they want to happen and they just pull the energies, Oh, you want to connect with Granddad? I can see him in the corner, but I'm not really going to bother to channel him for you because that's not really my...
Icky, old man juices, simple. Gross.
In other words, are you one of these elitist super witches? And were you an elitist super witch from birth? Or did you work really hard and eventually get there super quick in one lifetime?
I have to say I'm one of the former.
Okay.
I like Daddy's money, and I'm going to continue spending Daddy's money for the rest of my existence. And I might even feel like spending next lifetime's energy too.
Who's the daddy though, Chris? You's the daddy.
That would be telling.
You is the daddy.
That would be telling. Let's just say, why ask somebody else to do it when you do it so much better?
Spoken like a true asexual. So anyway, how does this help the listener? Well, it doesn't really help the listener.
No.
I think this is what they call gloating, isn't it? So let's pull something out of... I'll pull something out of my ass, which makes this not so much about gloating and more about actually helping the would-be witch or listener or the person that's on their way of becoming a super witch. And I'd like to start by talking about pop culture. And I know little Delphi's not going to like it because I said the term pop culture, and she's going to think, oh, you're going to start talking about Harry Potter or some shit on Netflix. No, I'm talking about general pop culture and the idea that you see it in a lot of films. I'm born a witch. I find out that I have witchy powers when I get to the age of 16 or 18 or whatever the fuck it is. And all that kind of thing. The concept of real witches in pop culture, they don't train and learn. They're either a witch from birth or not. Because I've seen this perpetuated through the 90s with actual students often asking, am I a witch? Am I a witch? Aren't I a witch? Do I have the sight? And psychics often using it as a marketing tool to say, oh, I was thrice blessed, which means I can see a little bit better down the road. So come to me. Don't go to where she can only hear the spirits. I can see them and smell them. You know? And the idea that, oh, well, you must come to me because you can't do it yourself. And I think we need to get into that. I think we need to get into the nitty gritty of what someone can do themselves, what people struggle to do themselves, and that kind of what in athletics and fitness, and that's often referred to as genetic advantages.
Yeah.
Body composition. Well, let's talk about
natural
advantages that natural born talent, essentially. Yeah. I have talent, but I'm also developing that talent. Versus, I'm talentless, but I'm still want to give it a go. You know. So I think we should talk a little bit about that. But where do you want to start with it? What should we pull apart first?
I suppose we should pull apart first this idea of witch blood. Or do you want to leave that one to later? Because that's kind of where some people will be thinking we're talking about. So I don't know if it's one of those things that you kind of have to get rid of very quickly. So we can make it quite clear. We're not talking about witch blood. We're not talking about inherited magic that's come down a bloodline. We're not talking about
So do you want to get the racism stuff out of the way, where people talk about, oh, well, you can't practice this because you're not of that blood and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, that one.
Which means that basically you've got some white guy saying, well, you can't play with swords and pretend to be a Viking, but I'm allowed to work a little bit of hoodoo because hoodoo, of course, comes from Africa. Which everything about that is completely wrong. But obviously that's not my thoughts. That's just what you hear these fucking idiots go about saying, you know?
Yeah.
Do I need to tell the listeners why that's wrong? I would hope that given that they're listening to us, they probably understand that hoodoo doesn't come from Africa. They probably understand that you don't need to be a Viking looking dude to play around with Viking magic.
Yeah.
You know? And all of the other shit.
Yeah. But what I kind of want to just point out on that, because I don't feel we need to explain what that actually means. What needed to be said was basically saying that we're not talking about inherited blood. So we're not talking about physical body, DNA from that point of view.
But there is magic with that.
There is magic from that
as well,
but
which is what people get confused with.
Yeah, which is why I'm trying to make it clear that that's not what we're currently talking about, and what we're actually talking about here is what I would call soul magic. So what you're pulling from your greater self. This is your magic in all the versions of you there have been and will be. We're not talking about you having an inherited born, on the 12th son of a 12th son situation, we're not talking about that. And obviously, I know it's 7th. I'm just being pedantic. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of take that off the table while we have this bit of discussion. Otherwise, people might get confused with what we're talking about. So which bit do you want to hit first, Liam?
I think that we should breeze over the blood concept and the blood magic, because I know we're going to go into that on more detail in other podcasts. So, if your magical system relies upon you pulling information through your blood, or using any form of blood sorcery, blood magic, any form of ancestral working, which, let's be fair, is 90% of the magic that you tend to come across in these days, then that is outside of this. That is a form of magic that you would probably on a hierarchy scale think of as lower magic, lower form of magic, because what you're talking about is you're saying, yes, your blood holds a key to working with everything that came before it, potentially anything that came after that, but remember, your blood is still just linked to this universe.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about everything you in any way, shape or form have ever been, ever will be, or is currently.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about accessing that system, we normally talk about, and again I'll breeze over this, the idea of you as an incarnation, you as a person, are a twig. That twig is attached to a branch. That branch is this universe. That branch connects to a tree trunk. That tree trunk holds multiple branches containing multiple twigs, i.e. multiple universes. If you're talking about using blood sorcery, you're probably talking about using and interacting with you as a twig, and then other twigs that have come before you that are linked through your bloodline. Talents for certain things. The biological parts that you utilize with magic. So to a certain extent, there's a certain amount of psychic ability in that can be transferred because of physiological changes in the brain, which can be inherited again. So there are things like that, yes. The sort of thing where you are born with genetic advantages, we aren't necessarily talking about that. That's again a lot smaller than what we're actually talking about. We're talking about, if using the bullshit Neoplatonist idea, I'm just going to use that because it's something you can Google, although it's flawed. There is everything. You are an aspect of everything. Therefore, because you're connected to everything, you know and are everything. From this perspective, what you're talking about is being born with not just the knowledge of the theory of that, but being born with the direct connection whereby you do actually are connected to everything and can pull in whatever the human brain can cope with anyway, without overloading and breaking. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about being an advanced witch, a super witch, I think they call it on social media now. So that's what we're talking about. I think it's important to talk about the pros and cons of this, though, because if you are a super witch, you're born a super witch, you can attempt to become a super witch, but that is through, obviously, the effort thing. What we really focus on here is people that put no effort into it and they've already got it, because there isn't really anywhere out there that caters to that information.
Not at all.
And most of the time it's the case of people lacking sympathy for extremely rich people, saying, well, if I had their money, I wouldn't be crying, I wouldn't be depressed, I wouldn't be upset. When actually having lots of money just brings different problems.
Yeah.
And so with the connection you have as a super witch, if you're born a super witch, then obviously you would have that and do that for a reason, because you decided to incarnate as a super witch. Remember, I say remember because that's kind of a joke, because they should remember it if they're a super witch.
I got it.
Yeah, But you didn't laugh, Chris, and it was hilarious.
It wasn't hilarious, but nice try.
Okay, well, that's my attempt at humour. So, anyway, the difficulties that arise with it. One of the difficulties is, imagine being locked in a daycare or nursery with a bunch of children, but not the babies that cry, the children that ask questions all fucking day. Why? That's one of the things that people and super witches often will content with. They're content not with people coming to them and asking them questions. What they have to put up with is they have to put up with all of the information around them they see as absolute bullshit. That's probably a telltale sign that you're dealing with a super witch, is that they look at all of the information that's out there, and they look at the, so say, masters that are around teaching and doing stuff, and professionals, and they think, oh my god, this is the state of this place. And there's nothing really wrong with the masters. There's nothing wrong with that, because they're attempting and they've achieved so much. Some of them have achieved so much. But compared to the super witch, it really is nothing.
Who's going, but back in my day, we did things properly.
Yeah.
It's tricky because it's the thing is, you've gone for probably the most elitist of the cons. I was thinking
of course
more. I was thinking more on the level of, which is such a robot Liam answer, but is actually the fact that the trickiest part is not knowing what to do with that information. If you're not surrounded by people who are also feeling the same, overwhelmed by the knowledge you have access to, but no understanding as to where it comes from, because unfortunately, unlike the the idea of the natural witch, and hence why we're not using that term, but it is because the idea of the natural witch, the kind of blood inherited witch, is the fact that, oh, one day grandma or great granny will have left some kind of book that gives them all the secrets, that there is some kind of inherent way of actually reading that. So, grandma didn't write anything down, so let's summon her and talk about it. At least you have a connection that you could pull back on and kind of go, oh, okay, can you explain why this keeps happening, grandma? What tends to happen with these super witches that are they're normally born into completely muggle families. But I'm hoping little Delphi will understand the word muggle. Because I know that was a pop culture reference. But
Mundanes. I know little Delphi reads Harry Potter, I think. I think she's aware of Harry Potter, so she should understand muggle as the term.
So it is, we're not talking about, we're not talking about the option to go and ask some great dead relative that would hopefully know something about the family secret, because that's always the phrase, isn't it? The family secret. Anyway, but is the fact that actually they're normally going to be born into muggle families. You might be born into families where, like Liam was saying, there is a natural born genetic part that makes the psychic part easier, because obviously that's required. But actually, a lot of the kind of super witches I've ever met have completely muggle families. There's not a witch amongst them. So, actually coming into that kind of world and not knowing how to deal with that, you can understand why a lot of super witches end up in the nut house, because you've got this overwhelming information that you have nothing you could do about, and no one's there to teach you how to use it. So luckily, a lot of the super witches that I've met in my time are born also with this level of superiority and elitism that seems to be naturally there, which kind of reminds them constantly that they are right, and therefore they have the confidence to actually pursue some of the crafts that they are capable of doing. But sorry, I've gone straight into your elitist round too. I've just attempted to go in the opposite direction. I've ended up exactly back there.
Good luck with that. Right, so where are we going next then? If you've devolved into being extremely elitist, should we just make this podcast about trying to be more and more elitist and offend as many people as possible? Because I think that you need to surrender yourself to being extremely humble to progress in occultism. Because unless you're a super witch, it's the simple answer to that. Because I've met a lot of people that have come from, and they always ask the same thing. They always talk about the same thing. How did you discover your path? How did you come to magic? How did you do that? Well, that's the short as shit simple question of saying, well, I had to discover this at some point. You know, I had to work out that this magic thing was real. I had to do some experiment, and I had to put a lot of fucking effort in, and I had to go through so much stuff that I thought was absolute crap and try it until I found the real stuff. And with a super witch, it's kind of like, yeah, I realised what all of the shit was, and there wasn't any books that were around that actually taught me anything because I already knew it all. And that rare books that I do tend to find that are written for me, such as the 3 books of occult philosophy, are a pamphlet that you get at the train station or airport showing you cool things to do in the local area. Essentially. And they're not designed to teach.
No, but I must say, the one thing that Agrippa does do by having such a text available is kind of orientate yourself in what universe you're in.
That's what it's designed essentially to do, though, isn't it?
You know, it kind of reminds you, oh, okay, physics works that way here. Like, you know, that kind of oh, okay, yeah, okay, I know which body I'm in. I know which genetic pool is here for me to play with. You know, and I think that's the bit that will probably really confuse lots of people that listen to us and probably make them hate us even more. But it is that kind of, we're talking about innate knowledge. You know, we're talking about actually looking at something and going, who wrote this? But with everything you ever read,
yes, we're talking
exhausting.
We're talking about an Egyptologist doing a documentary. You watching that documentary and thinking, I remember when I taught the person who taught the Egyptians a bit about that, and that documentary is wrong. That's the sort of elitism you're dealing with. Also, with regards to listening to scientists and top-level scientists, particularly in the realm of physics, try and explain how something works, and you think, you've got to that point. I see. Elitism. So maybe we should take a step back from the elitism before we lose people, because we are not on the Patreon bit, and we're supposed to really keep all the real bad stuff for the Patreon, aren't we? With all the other elitist assholes, because we are elitist assholes. I don't think there's any question of that. We try every day.
No, we don't pretend
to be less elitist, and we do quite a good job, I dare say, at doing that, which should give you some indication of what we actually think. Given that we censor ourselves, and this is the result of the censorship. Growing up as a super witch, is it you're a baby in a crib looking up and thinking, oh, what is it all of these fucking idiots doing, goo goo gaga? Is it the concept like what a lot of mundanes or beginners have, which is, when I was a kid I saw everything, I knew everything, and then I was conditioned to forget? Or is it actually the opposite? Is it more like you training your cats, Chris? With having to wait and push them only when the biological parts are ready.
Yes. Yeah. That's going to be totally missed on so many people, but yes, that's exactly what we're talking about, Liam. So, we're talking about that, of the fact that the body still needs to develop. So, we still need to learn how to push ourselves, what is possible. And by that, I don't mean what is actually possible, because we know those things. What we're talking about is what this body, this meat suit, is capable of doing within this time frame. What access do we have? How does your body metabolize energy, etc.? Is all the parts that you have to figure out as you go. And the biggest problem is keeping and maintaining that connection to all those other knowledges. So, at the end of the day, this meat suit is only designed for holding so much. So you very quickly have to learn how to make the most use of the time that you have. And I don't mean years. What I'm talking about is, how much information can I stuff in my head as a download temporarily to then write 3 things down that I actually needed to remember and then forget it all, because there is no way that you could store all that information and have permanent access to it in your mundane meat suit.
Hashtag Google Drive.
Hashtag Google Drive.
To explain what Chris is talking about in a mundane perspective, if you think of computers and the evolution of computers, you have a computer in front of you. Remember from the 90s and the noughties, you had the little tower and the screen and all that sort of stuff. All of this shit, all of the programs, everything is on the computer, okay? In the body, in the brain. When we're talking about other stuff, we're talking about nowadays the system that an advanced witch uses, or a super witch would use, is that it's like a Google Drive. Yes, the computer has storage unit, and it does keep some stuff on the hard drive on the computer, but actually really all you want the computer for is to load up Internet Explorer or Chrome or something, log into your Google Drive, and then all your stuff's there. So it's a case of the computer doesn't take things and store it in the brain, in the mind, in the body. What you do is you pull and push information as and when you want to change something or download something. So all of that through multiple lifetimes, that is how you're able to do it, is that all of the information stays intact outside of this universe and you're just accessing it. Now, like when you get a new computer, like with a new body, you have to go through the standard startup. You have to name the computer, it has to do a swirly wheelie thing, it has to tell you, which country you're in, blah, blah, blah. That's what we call childhood. That's a case of, you understand from day one what you're attempting to do, but it's not a difficult process, because it is literally step by step. It's, I know what I have to do now. Oh, now I have to put my name in. Now I have to wait a bit. Now I have to do that. And then all of a sudden, at puberty, I would say around that time, the desktop theme loads up. And with that desktop theme, the difference is that what the mundane person does, or what the beginner witch does, or what the non-super witch does, is they start to download programs, they start to install software, they start to build the computer they've always wanted, with all of the files on it in their My Documents and in their pictures that they've always wanted. The difference with the super witch is at that stage, the only thing they're concerned with is logging into the Google Drive, because everything's already there. It also means that stealing the secrets of a super witch, there's that level of encryption